Now, on a Monday, we're going to sit back and try and highlight somebody who's going to say something that's not exactly about the news of the day, but is big ideas that you need to hear about each and every week. So tonight's big thinker is none other than the great Senator Jim Molan, who we love talking to, who's responding in part to some of... some very terse words that have been said about Australia deciding to spend an awful lot of money on brand new tanks. In fact, Greg Sheridan, who we would all respect on his views when it comes to foreign affairs, he says that it's sheer idiocy for us to be spending so much money on tanks. So, Senator, nice to see you as always, mate. Why is Greg Sheridan wrong, and why should we be buying billions of dollars worth of tanks?
Paul, it's good to be here. It's good to be here with you. It's not just to crush mice out on Barnaby's property. The fundamental reason that we are buying tanks is because we are trying to put together a world-class defence force. It's not just about tanks, it's about the ability of a defence force to achieve the strategy that we're setting for ourselves. Now, we have got the best defence force at the moment that I've seen in 50 years exposure to the defence force. With the good subs we've got now, the F-35s, the ships, the tanks, all of this is great. With a government paying just over 2% now, with guys like Angus Taylor providing fuel for us, that's fantastic. But it all belongs to another era. It belongs to that era, Paul, when the Australian Defence Force could always know that the Americans were going to dominate the world. Now, that period has just about gone. And the Americans themselves really understand that Russia, China, North Korea and Iran and many other countries are far, far stronger than they used to be. Tanks are an example of this. And Greg, who came out and made some statements about tanks, reflects the view that in Australia we haven't got a bloody idea about, in the vast majority of those that commentate or in the population, of what close combat is like. And I say to people, Paul, I say, if you want to understand what fighting without tanks is like, put on Black Hawk Down. Put on when people were running down roads in Somalia in 1993, or driving in Humvees and being torn to bits by machine gun fire. And Les Aspin, the Secretary of Defence, Paul, at that stage, had to resign because he had refused on 2 occasions to put this exact tank into Mogadishu. So, mate, this is a manifestation of our strategy, because you can't achieve a strategy unless you can achieve effect on the ground.
It's a good point. I mean, also when we think about, when you get pulled into conflicts around the world these days, quite often the enemy that we're against is not a uniformed enemy, right? So as you know through your own experiences in Iraq, we know about Afghanistan, which is our ability to have tanks that can withstand IEDs. Literally, the number of people who died because the tanks weren't up to scale, but then eventually the numbers of soldiers that were saved by tanks that had been improved to be able to take these improvised explosive devices on the side of the road, it has saved lives.
Correct. And not only has it saved lives, it's allowed us, even more importantly in future battles, it is that we must win. We must actually win the battles. Now, we've had the luxury in the past couple of wars of being able to say that a soldier's life is more important than winning the battle. In the future, that may not always be the case. We must be prepared to die, and tanks, because we have so little of everything, and particularly infantry, tanks mean that you can achieve great effect with minimum force. You can actually win. And that's what it's about. If you're going to war to save lives, I'd say don't go to war. If you're going to war to win, then take tanks.
So again, the vague commentariat view is that wars now are fought over the internet, essentially, whether cyber warfare or it'll be drone strikes from hundreds of kilometres away. But the truth is that as long as human beings have been around, you sometimes get pretty damn close to each other, and you're going to need to be able to have protection when you get close to each other.
No, absolutely correct. And I just mentioned a peace operation before in Somalia. I mentioned a counterinsurgency in Iraq where we had hundreds of tanks. And what a soldier can carry in his hands now can hurt other soldiers, and for lighter vehicles, can damage lighter vehicles greatly. So this is merely a normal thing to do. And what annoys me about it is that the reason that I came out was for the simple reason that if we keep on saying tanks are silly, tanks are something from another era, submarines, we can't do this, we can't take big fat amphibious ships anywhere, then at a certain stage people will cut money from them. And the first people who are going to suffer when we cut good weapons, we cut the right weapons, are going to be soldiers. And after that, it's the population of this country.
Jim, we love you on the show, mate. All the best, and we'll talk to you again very soon.